Hey there, here we are back. I'm Luke, the Hard Times guy. Today I got some things I want to talk to you about. The first thing I want to talk to you about is we're going to change the format of how we do things just a little bit. Come up with a new format. Things that you can expect from me almost every time we put out a new video. I'm going to have either a 4-part or a 3-part video depending on how much some of the parts take. I'm going to begin most of the videos with a section called The Guys, and that's where I'm going to talk about the guys. You know, when we come in here, and I got the guys here, of course when the guys ain't here, we won't have this section, but when they're here, we're going to start with the section about the guys. And the reason for that is just when I'm getting them here, getting them in place and getting things set up to have my videos and what have you, the guys are sitting around, and I don't make them be quiet while I'm getting ready because they can't be quiet but just a little while anyway, and so I don't waste precious be quiet time on them when nothing's happening. And they talk, and just every once in a while they got something interesting to say, and I get tickle at them, or I get involved in a little conversation with them or something, and I learn something. I say I learn something. I find out how people like them think. Now that's a scary place to go sometimes, and I wouldn't advise you to do it on a regular basis, but just every once in a while they come up with something that's worth repeating, or it's worth thinking about, or it's maybe I could call it a warning. I'm warning you that there's people out there like this. Give you something to think about. So we're going to start with that part of it, a little section called The Guys. And then we're going to have a section called General Store. And I don't know that I'll do it in the same order every week after week. I probably won't. But there will be some time during the episode, most times, where we have the general store, and the general store is open. And in that part, I'll show you something that here in the barn you could come and buy. Or you could call me and buy it, and I'll send it to you. That kind of a thing. You're going to get to see things that you can buy mostly every episode. I don't know how many things, maybe one thing sometimes, maybe half a dozen some other times. But we're going to have a section called General Store. Then we're going to have a section called Story Time. And story time could be a story from my past, all the way from the time I was as far back as I can remember until now. We might tell us a story about something in my life that might be interesting to my family. Maybe they've heard it before. They want it preserved so that future generations can hear these stories. And it might just be interesting to some of you. And finally, we're going to have a section called Random Thoughts. Now, some of you probably think Saturday Night Live is a relatively new television show that comes on Saturday night and is pretty much full of liberal thinking. But Saturday Night and Saturday Night Live may be that today. I don't know. I don't watch it very often anymore because I got, you know how I am. I get aggravated, and when I get aggravated, I kind of quit on things. But uh, there was a time when I was a regular viewer of Saturday Night Live. Couldn't wait for it to come on Saturday night. You know, there, sometimes get there and watch the last week's rerun before they aired the new one because I like some of those people. We had some great comedians, some of them people. Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, Chevy Chase. Some of them guys was, I mean, pretty good comedians, pretty good stuff on there. They had this one section on there which was one of my favorite sections, and it was called Deep Thoughts by Jack Handey. I don't know who Jack Handey was, never did meet him. For a long time I was confused about what deep thoughts were because I had in my mind what a deep thought should be and what they shared with me most of those evenings wasn't too deep. But it gave me the idea to have this section on my interviews called Random Thoughts. And the random thoughts are going to be this. They're going to be, in some instances, life lessons. In other words, things about life that I think I have experienced over my 73 years that might be good for some of you and for sure will be good for some of my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren to take note of and maybe learn a little something from. So one type of random thought might be a random thought that I had about life lessons since the last time I made a video. The other type of random thought, and I'm not sure it's fair to call it a random thought because it's a provoked reaction, really is what it is, but I'm going to put it in this part of the video. You'll either get a life lesson or you'll get a rant. R-A-N-T. And those two things could be the same thing. I could go on a rant about something that I think is a life lesson for you. So that is the new format that I'm going to try to meet. And like I said, that's 4 things. I'm not sure I can always get 4 things done. We may only have 3. In fact, there may be times when we only have 2. But when you tune in to... Wake him up. What are you doing? Yeah, we started. Excuse me just a minute. And what? And then what? Well, listen, Ray Bob. I'm telling you, you ain't Ray Bob? Jay Bird? I thought both of you was here a while ago. What happened to your Jay Bird? What happened to Ray Bob? He went. He never said nothing to me about it. Who's he think them Blackberries belong to? Them's my Blackberries. You're on my place. No, I don't care. I don't care for him picking a few Blackberries. He's a little early. The Blackberries ain't ready yet. No, he won't be able to get enough. He'll get his fingers all purple, and he won't have enough to make a cobbler. And I know the two of you ain't want no cobbler anyway. You're going to take them somewhere. You take them to the pool room, try to sell them. That's what I thought. Yeah. I don't care if they do bring $10 a quart. They're my Blackberries. You can't just go on a person's place without even asking him. And all right. See what I'm dealing with? See why I can't make a plan for anything? I mean, I just tried to set up a new format. Told these folks we was going to have a 4-part video and about every one of them if I could. And before we even get started, you guys get this one all messed up. To where the time I get done dealing with getting this mess straightened out, we're probably going to have time for maybe two. And tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, here, let me have this. Change my hat. Put my hat on. Now we started out with explaining the format, and I was going to go into the section about the guys. Well, you got me into the section about the guys for us ready, and we're going to get to count that because of what happened. We're going to get to count that as two sections. We had the guys, and in the middle of it we had random thoughts. And today's random thought came about in the form of a rant. I had to go on a rant about the morons that I have to deal with on account of you and your half-wit brother stealing my Blackberries. Yeah, and that ain't what I wanted to talk about at all when it related to the guys. Remember what we was talking about earlier? Yeah, that. And you and your brother? Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and try to get the guys part like I had it planned, because before we ever started, I thought it was interesting that the guys was talking about the vice president and what they had to say. I thought you might find interesting on one hand, and on the other hand you might find a little bit scary. And the scary part is all these guys vote. And so anyway, they're talking about the president or the vice president, and come to find out he was talking about the vice president, and he was saying the vice president, and he finally said Vice President Biden. Well, then one of them said Biden ain't the vice president. And they said, and the argument went like this: Biden ain't the vice president. Sure he is. No, he ain't, you moron. He's that white-haired guy, that the coronavirus guy, that guy. And then somebody over here said, no, the coronavirus guy's named Fauci. Well, they got to arguing, and they got that figured out. That Fauci was the coronavirus guy, but was it you? Your cousin or your brother? No wonder he went to pick berries. He knew he was going to get in trouble. Yeah, he was insisting that it wasn't Fauci. The guy's name was Spence. And I said, Spence? And he said, well, Spence or Spencer, something like that. The white-headed guy, the coronavirus guy. But I said, let's get this other thing straightened out first. I said, Biden, and they chimed in again, he knew Biden was the vice president because he was watching TV the other day and they kept referring to him as the vice president. Well, he was the vice president at one time. And after you've been the president or the vice president, the people still refer to you as the vice president so-and-so or so-and-so. So they refer to him as Vice President Biden at some times, especially when they're talking about something that he did during the time he was vice president. But now he is a former vice president, and the current vice president or the sitting vice president is who? No, that's close. Not Spence. The man's name is Pence. Begins with a P. P-E-N-C-E. Vice President Pence. And yes, he is the one that they put in charge from the government's part of it of dealing with the coronavirus. Yes, that's good. So we got that behind us, all right? All right. So we got two segments in now. We got the rant that I had to go on to get Jaybird and Ray Bob straightened out. And yes, no, I know we talked about it. Yes, I know that. But the Blackberries are mine. You're picking them to sell. You should ask somebody before you just go start picking their Blackberries with the intention of going somewhere and selling them. No, I'm not gonna pick them. I used to have some great big ones right over there that I'd pick and I'd get me enough for a cobbler. But when I put that propane tank in there, cut it back to get them in there, I killed them accidentally, and they don't come up great big thumb-sized ones anymore. So all the rest of them just, ordinary little Blackberries all around. I got gobs of them, but I like to pick the easy ones, so no, I ain't gonna pick them. But sometimes my family likes to pick them, my grandkids, and yeah. All right, no, I'm gonna let him keep whatever he picks today. But you can't come out here and pick Blackberries every day and take them in there and sell them something. And if you're gonna do that, I need to get part of the profit. Yeah. All right. We had the guys section. We've had random thoughts section in the form of a rant. The rant I went on about blackberries and strawberries. So I'm going to finish this section today with the third thing I promised you. We're going to turn around and get some things for sale. Put the camera on things. I think most of the stuff is, well, I'm going to get that right over there. Let me put on a different hat. Let me put on my salesman's hat. If I wear a different hat, maybe you can figure out that we're in a different section. So this is my salesman's hat. That was my random thoughts hat. I started out with no hat, and no hat counts as something different. There's a no hat, a random thoughts hat, a salesman's hat, and that's three different hat situations, okay? Can you see that? That's what I call a cricket bench. See how it's made? It's got bootjack legs on the end. We've talked about these before. That's what bootjack legs look like. This one here's a nice, heavy, sturdy one. It's a nice size. It's about 2 foot long. It's about 16 or 17 inches high, maybe not quite. It's got a nice seat. Nice little cricket bench. That one there is nice, and as sturdy as it is, ought to be, $35, $40, $45, something like that. But to kick off this section of you getting to buy stuff from the Hard Times guy, this little cricket bench is only going to be $30 today. If you want this, get a hold of me. We'll make arrangements for you to come get it. It's too heavy to ship. I mean, I could ship it, but by the time I shipped it to you, you'd have so much money and it wouldn't be worth it anymore. Good bargain, though, today for $30. Cricket bench. Hard Times guy. Now, I'm going to turn the camera around and sell you a few more things, and then this episode will come to an end. All right. What you're looking at here is something that's almost a Hard Times original. And by almost, I mean if I'd liked it just a little bit better, or I'd done just a little bit better job on it, I would have called it a Hard Times original. I'd have put a bigger price on it. I'd have put the signature and the label on it. But it just didn't quite make the grade, and so it just became something that I had repurposed from some legs and some wainscoting and some other pieces of lumber. I repurposed it into a little 40-pound Jersey coffee box. It's not a real one. It's one that I created. And it is for sale. Now these things, and I could go on a rant here about some of these places that where they can order these things out of a catalog that they build out of brand new wood, and they make them look like something. They make little potato bins out of them or something like that, and they paint them, and then they run a sander over them and knock the paint off the edges of them. And then they sell them for $125, $155, and you can take them, use them for a bin or something at home. This one here is a whole lot more interesting than that, and I don't want near that kind of money for it. In fact, I think, let's look. Yeah, there it is. $95. $95, buy this little bin, and right now it's got a bunch of empty coffee cans in it, but it's sturdy as can be. Looks nice. Lots of people would mistake it for a real Jersey coffee box. There it is. $95 will buy it. Made by the Hard Times guy. Jersey coffee box. Okay, here we have two wall-mounted coffee grinders. I think I'll move them a little bit so you can see them a little bit better. There they are. Put them out on the table. And I called them, when they was over on that shelf, I called them wall-mounted coffee grinders, and that was slightly wrong. They aren't wall-mounted. They can be wall-mounted. They're made to mount on a wall and use them as coffee grinders. They're not obviously mounted on a wall. They were laying on a shelf. Now they're laying on a table. The one on the left's got a glass jar, and the one on the right's got a tin container to put the coffee beans in. You turn that crank, the ground coffee comes out the bottom. They're supposed to have a little glass container underneath there to catch the coffee grounds. The bracket and the glass container's gone from both of these, and that's how you find most of them nowadays. When you find the whole thing all together, it's $225. And probably it should be, because there ain't very many of them that you can find all together like that anymore. But when they're like this, these usually somewhere between $100 and $140, $150 to buy one of these. I thought it was an arcade when I decided to sell it today, but it's not an arcade. It's got a patent pending note on the back side of it, but it doesn't have any name on it. It's got some scroll artwork embossing on it. It's a pretty nice little coffee grinder. I got an arcade somewhere, but that ain't it. The one on the right's got the tin with the little gold pin striping on it. And at an auction, they'd put these on the table. The auctioneer would be selling you choice, give you a chance to make a mistake. They are the same thing, but they don't have the same value. Now these here, you couldn't make too bad a mistake, because this one I said it'd be worth $100 to $125. I had it for sale in my booth, and because I try to undersell everybody, it was $85. I want to have the best buy on whatever it is whenever I sell something. You can find one. I'm kind of like Walmart. It's come in there and tell me that somebody else had the same thing for less than what mine is, and you're apt to buy mine for whatever that cheaper price you found was. I like to be the guy that gives the best buy to everybody. So that one's $85, and I'm telling you right now, that's cheap for one of those. And the one next to it, it should be $85, but because I told you there was a little difference in them, I'm going to make it $75 today. And so you can buy the tin one for $75 or the glass one for $85. But click the like button, subscribe to my channel. If you haven't seen the rest of them, go back and watch my videos.